Are live from New York, from our Africa-related studios in New York. I am Oiza Adaba from Africa Related. Thank you again for joining us for another interview session that we're going to hold right now with two gentlemen from Nigeria. One is a legal practitioner and the other is an investigative journalist. They have made their marks in their field. Mark Jacob Nzamah is our first guest. He was the former Attorney General in Kaduna State, a human rights activist, and also a legal practitioner. While I also have Mr. Abuja-based editor, award-winning investigative journalist, and also the winner of the Wally Soyinka investigative report in 2019. That is Ibanga Isine. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Mr. Ibanga, can you hear us? And
yeah, I can hear you very well.
And Mark? Mark, you're on mute. That's the issue with doing live.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he'll come back to us shortly. Let me start with you while I have you on the line. Please give us you've been very active in reporting and in highlighting for years now, not just now, the issues in Nigeria, especially when it relates to corruption, it relates to human rights and social justice. And we have been watching, especially from an international perspective, have been watching the events in Nigeria unfold. Can you give us a brief overview of where things, or update, I should say, of where things are today in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. It is very sad. It's a sad development, a sad commentary that after 20 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria, the gains we were supposed to have, or what we should have as gain of having this kind of system of government is not really there. When you consider development or good governance, we are ranked at the bottom, the rock bottom. You talk of corruption index, we are ranked rock bottom. We are one of the worst in the world. We are ranked in terms of poverty or development, we are still at the rock bottom. You talk of human rights, it is one of the worst in the continent and in the world. And so it's a very dire situation that we have in Nigeria. And you could imagine why young people, the millennials, went on the streets peacefully, organized themselves very peacefully, and protested against a recurrent wickedness, brutality by law enforcement, particularly the police in this instance. And the protest was quite very peaceful until the political class recruited thugs and hoodlums from everywhere and unleashed them on the peaceful protesters. And imagine, for the first time, and I think it was one of the best expressions of young people, of Nigerians ever, that you saw people, young people or people protesting, because it was not only young people, you saw mothers, you saw fathers, you even
Everybody
saw
came out.
grandfathers.
Yeah, everybody came out.
And each time they closed from the protest, they fed themselves, they provided security for themselves, they treated their wounded, and then they cleared the refuse, everything that was generated. And you get there the next morning, you don't believe anything had happened. It was well coordinated, well planned, although there was no central leadership. But suddenly, something went amiss. Some other young persons came on national television to threaten that if the peaceful protesters are not evacuated from the street, they will unleash mayhem. And they did. And when they were unleashing mayhem, you saw vehicles having, government branding,
Yes.
bringing young people with and sharing machetes and cutlasses, stones and sticks, to attack peaceful protesters. And it was at that instance that the trouble set in, because the hoodlums, the so-called hoodlums and thugs, who were bystanders, they were just watching the peaceful protest, now were given free rein, free, I mean, freedom to unleash mayhem on people. And so
Right.
when they saw that they were having some form of state power, they now start looting. And then you now see a situation where the looting spree that occurred in some part of the country went viral. Everybody wanted to loot. All of them came out from wherever they were, and then they started looting from Calabar to Oyo to Benin to Maiduguri. I mean, everywhere across the country. And now they now blame the peaceful protesters for it. Now I can point an a particular instance. I was covering the protest I was covering the protest at the police, at the force headquarters in Abuja on the first Saturday of the protest. And they fed all of us, including the police, that were outside the force headquarters, because the protesters, the young people, said they want to speak to the Inspector General of Police and they would not have any other person to speak with them to them. And so the Inspector General of Police did not come out, and so they remained there. They fed the policemen, they brought food, they brought water, they brought drink. As they were eating, the water cannons started rolling out. And after some time, the riot policemen were stationed and they carried everything that they needed to unleash, terror on the protesters. In the evening, around 6 or 7, there's threw 14, canisters of tear gas into the midst of peaceful protesters and
My
started shooting,
goodness.
beating up journalists and destroying their equipment, seizing their equipment. So what would you say? The same thing happened on Sunday. And then the previous Sunday, where the protesters went to Central Bank, they brought hoodlums. They beat up people, they burned down cars, and nothing happened. It was because these guys had a free reign and they thought they had the state support. They now went, looting and looking for what they call palliatives. And the rest is
Yeah,
now a story.
the
So
rest
that
is
is the
history.
situation in Nigeria, and a very pitiable situation. Yes.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much for giving us that overview, Mr. Ibanga. It's really sad to note that this is not the first, is it, Mr. Mark Jacob? It's you've been at this for a while. It's not the first that this is happening. Why is this particular instance and this situation, why is it very key that the international community must be aware of what is going on in Nigeria? Mr. Nzamah. Mark Jacob, can you hear us? Let's hear you. Having
His
some
network is
yeah,
network issues.
having some tell us about the network issues. We were just talking about that, Mr. Ibanga, just
It's
before we
crazy.
went live. Mm.
But Jacobs,
Mark Jacobs can't hear us yet, but
that's the situation in
yeah,
Nigeria.
we were
You see,
talking
I had
about
to
that,
run to a
Mr.
private.
Ibanga. Mm-hmm.
Yes. You see, I
The
have
network is crazy.
Airtel. Yes,
That's
I
what we
have
have.
Airtel and Glow data, but I can't use them. So I had to run to another service provider and get the
But that's
somehow
the
smooth
situation
service
that
that
we
we
find
can see.
ourselves in
Yes,
Nigeria.
in
It's part
Nigeria,
of
it's
it,
so bad.
What?
you know.
There's no accountability. Nobody is held to account for the things they are not doing right in this country. And that's why these things are happening. That's
The
why Mike
network is
Jacob cannot join us.
Mark Jacob, can you hear us now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. I was just asking you earlier that asking you about why this particular instance with NSAS and this current narrative in Nigeria, why it is important for the international community to be aware. This is not the first time that such is happening in Nigeria, but for some reason, human rights have constantly been violated. Nigeria ranks as, has its own ranking in the, Human Rights Watch and indices. So it's nothing new per se. But why is it important at this stage in our country that the international community takes note of what is going on in Nigeria right now?
I'm so frustrated that I didn't hear the a larger part of your question, but it needs to be said that Nigeria is in trouble. Nigeria is completely disorganized.
Mm. Okay, I think we're having trouble again with um, Mr. Ooh, this is this is this is live. But again, we're here um discussing NSARS and the effect. So let me come back to you, Mr. Ibanga. You've covered stories and you've seen people, human lives. These are not just statistics anymore. These are human lives at stake. Mr. Mark Jacob has told us about attending mass burials. It's somewhat been normalized in Nigeria. Yes, Mr. Jacobs venting his frustration again. Mr. Ibanga, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, but talk to us about some of the pain. You just humanize some of this. What is going on in Nigeria right now for us, please? We
Yeah,
need some human
I,
angles.
I have been working on, I've been investigating the killings in Southern Kaduna, and I must tell you that it's one of the most traumatic experiences I've had as a journalist.
Hmm.
And in this country, we don't pay attention to the psychological and psychiatric health of journalists. So people like us are struggling. You wake up with nightmares, you cannot sleep, you suffer because of the things we see, the things we hear. One of the sour points or the headquarters of mass murders in Nigeria is in Kaduna State. It's Kaduna State in Nigeria's northwest region.
Hmm.
The killings are being perpetrated um, by the said headsmen, armed headsmen or militia headsmen.
Hmm.
And then in the course of my investigation, I have also found that the Fulanis are also victims of these killings, although not on the same proportion with the indigenous people of Southern Kaduna.
Right.
What happens there is that the farmers, the Southern Kaduna people, indigenous people, are predominantly farmers. And the main source of economic mainstay is farming.
Hmm.
And then you have the Fulani pastoralists, the nomadic herdsmen coming from everywhere in the world, in West Africa and Africa, and looking for grazing areas because of the climate change that has
Mm-hmm.
caused deforestation in many parts of the continent, especially the Sahel region. And
Right.
so when they come in contact with farmers, they want to graze, and they said they were traditional grazing routes were from the north to the south, and they want to still maintain these grazing routes. Farmers would not allow this to happen because these are the ancestral lands. And you cannot just create a grazing route without any compensation, without anything, and ask people to take their animals from northern Nigeria to southern Nigeria. Herding or cattle is business and it's owned by individuals. It is not a commonwealth. And so they insisted that these guys should not pass through their areas, and that result in conflict. And so when a farmer attacks a cow or a herder, they, an armed group, a well-armed and coordinated attack is carried out on such communities. And so the last investigation, the investigation I'm still doing, has shown that between June 10 and August 21st this year, about not about 136 Southern Kaduna people were killed. In the
You said
same
between
vein,
June and
June 10, 2020 and August 21st, 2020, 136 indigenous Southern Kaduna people were
that's
killed.
a space of 2 months.
About 2 months.
Yes.
Now, in the same period, about 80, the Fulani ethnic leaders have also laid claims that about 86 to 85 Fulani persons, including women and children, have been killed. Now, in the course of investigating this story, I've made daring trips to communities where I have seen the level of devastation. I've seen mass graves. I've filmed on top of mass graves. In a place in Dogonoma, in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State, I filmed on top of a mass grave that about 65 or 66 persons were buried. And you can imagine the trauma of standing on top of that grave with that number of people underground and filming and speaking to victims. I have gone to where they call Ladoga, where Fulani persons, displaced Fulani persons, and some other communities in southern Kaduna where displaced Fulani people are taking refuge. They also tell an equally appalling stories of brutality, meted on them by angry youths who are angry over what happened. A particular incident on June 10 was where the son of a pastor, a local Ikwa pastor, a retired pastor, was threatened a few days or about 1 week before his corpse was found somewhere near a riverbank. The young man, Yusuf Magaji, had gone to farm, and some persons that are known in that neighborhood threatened they were going to kill him if he does not stop coming to the farm. When he got home, he told his father, and his father went to the tribal leaders in the area and complained that these people, your youth, said they're going to kill my son. And the traditional ruler said, no, that land belongs to you. I was one of those who witnessed when you bought that land and I signed the document. Nothing will happen to your child. 2 days after, that boy was killed in the farm. And then youth went protesting. I said, we know those who threatened to kill him. The police should arrest them and should prosecute them. A commissioner in Kaduna State came with law enforcement, and they opened fire on the protesters. I don't know how peaceful they were. I cannot confirm because I was not there. But those who were there said they did not attack the law enforcement and the commissioner. They simply refused to open the door, the road, for the commissioner to pass. And so security operatives, including armed soldiers and policemen and civil defense, opened fire. They killed one young man and injured 13. And that led to violence. The youth now went back and started attacking Fulani settlement. And I know that people were killed or might have been killed, like the Fulanis have claimed. Now, one of the things that I went to look for was the graves, the pictures, the videos where these things happen. I saw those things on the southern Kaduna side, but I can also blame the fact that these Fulani people are not well educated, the pastoralists are not well educated to take pictures. But they have tangible reasons to say their people were killed because of the violence that were unleashed on peaceful protesters. And
Right.
then, but after the peaceful protest and what happened, there had been consistent attacks from community after community. I can tell you the story of a woman I met, Harajatu. Harajatu was from Chibok, and at midnight, he said they had heard that a good Fulani man had called their community and said they are going to be attacked, but they did not believe it. So on that day, they Fulani, they said people came to the neighborhood and started shooting at midnight while people were.
I'm going to come back to your story, but let me try and give, while we have him, let me try and give you a break for a minute, and then we'll come back to Haratu's story. While I have you here, Mr. Mark Jacob, can you hear us? Oh, man. We're back to it again. I don't think he has any audio, but carry on with the victim. Mr. Mark, can you hear us? Can you unmute your mic?
Hello.
Good.
Hello.
Great.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
No, I was so frustrated that I
It's
couldn't hear
okay.
most of what was
Oh,
being
I'm
said.
sorry. Sorry about
And
that. But let me tell you what Mr. Isine was just telling us about the situation in southern Kaduna specifically. And he was just narrating some of the experiences that he's had as a journalist covering these stories. And he's actually even told us that he fell into a mass grave. He's seen mass graves, in southern Kaduna and all of that. But I'm giving you a chance to speak. Can you why has this gone on this long, and why is it that the human rights, international human rights organizations, and have been so slow to act on this southern Kaduna issue? Okay, there he is.
I'll just try to guess what has been said, because Ibanga is one of the respected personalities in our Nigerian community, and we take what he says very seriously. And it's not because he understands the issues, but largely because he's not from Southern Kaduna, and he's not in politics. He's a professional. So we believe him, or we trust him more than any other media. And I can tell you in all sincerity that some of the things and most of the things he says are genuine and original, and they are factual. We have seen him in our villages, we have seen him in different locations where other journalists dare not to enter. So we trust him. And for me, that is what counts. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Carry on.
Good. So I have tried to say to the world that when people are talking about issues in the international community, for us, we are localized, we are indigenous, we are actual people who are struggling to survive in a society that does not respect the rights of human beings to be who they are. And it hurts when you see that the world is accepting the narrative that comes from a government that harbors a certain narrative and seeks to impose that narrative on the whole world. For God's sake, I find it difficult to understand how anyone could say that when people are killed, human beings are killed, the interest of government is how many, the numbers. It is not as regards whether people have been killed. It's not as regards or as refers to whether human life is valuable. Nigeria has gotten to the point where we no
Oh, yeah, Mr. Ibanga, let me, it's actually very, very depressing, humanizing these stories.
Yes, that was why. Yeah, that was why I had to rush to a place I believe could have a strong network because the other service providers that we have are not doing well at all.
Yeah, this network
Yes.
problem is something that we hear, or I mean, we experience constantly when we make calls to Nigeria. And sometimes you even wonder, if it's, not being deliberately sabotaged so that people don't get these stories out that should be out. But that notwithstanding, let's carry on while we wait for Mr. But you heard what he was saying. We're speaking of Southern Kaduna specifically. We can't even just limit it to that at this stage because we're experiencing NSAS. We saw the Benue massacre. In my state, Kogi State, there's been so many unrests. And, across the country, the story is the same. But, carry on from where Mr. Mark Jacobs left off in terms of getting the international community to be more involved and to keep an ear on Nigeria. Carry on from there.
Yeah, it's really a very sad situation that the international community is keeping quiet and being a bit aloofish in the face of all that is happening in Nigeria. From the north to the south, it is not just in southern Kaduna. It is not just in the north. In the south, there are killings. There are bandit attacks. You can imagine in Abuja, along Abuja Kaduna Expressway, people, hundreds of people have been kidnapped and killed along that highway by so-called bandits. And unfortunately, the security system in the country, Nigeria, seems to be incapable of handling this situation. And you begin to wonder, why would security operatives, why were they so active during the NSAS crisis? And you find them so active in Lagos at the Lekki toll gate, shooting live bullets into crowds. They used tear gas to disperse people in Abuja. They arrest people, they haunt, our phones, like the phone I'm holding here. I know that they listen to my conversation, they tap my phone, they block my phones, they want to listen to what I'm doing and know what I'm doing, but they cannot get a hold of those who are procuring and sponsoring terrorism and crime in the country. Recently, in UAE, United Arab Emirates, about 6 Nigerians have been convicted and given various jail terms for transferring millions of naira to Boko Haram. And we have a country, the central bank, that has just blocked accounts of those who sponsored, who brought out funds to support the NSAS protest. The account is being blocked. Their business are being revoked. The business registrations are being revoked by
Their
the.
lives are threatened. They can't travel. Their
Yes, they
passports
can't
are being
travel. That
seized.
stop them
Yeah.
from traveling.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do anything because they supported a peaceful protest calling for reforms in the country. But Boko Haram and other organized criminals in Nigeria are having a field day doing what they are doing, and nobody is really just bothered. The international community should say that Nigerians are becoming helpless. Nigerians, very soon, if something is not done drastically to bring some level of respite, to confidence, a little bit of confidence on the part of the people towards their government, there will be a bigger bigger problem in the country. There will be an unrest. Only those who do not want to look at what is happening, only those who do not want to see the handwriting on the wall will tell you that all is well in Nigeria. Even government know that the signs are not positive. And so
No.
something should be done within and outside to help the government in Nigeria to take the right decisions, make the right reforms, and grow the economy. One of the major issues, the major problem that's confronting this country is the idea of this poverty, the widespread, the pervasive poverty in the country, the pervasive unemployment in the country. You cannot have this number of active young people not
And
working
not engaged.
and not
Not
engaged,
engaged.
not involved in crimes. It does not work that way. So no matter what we are trying to say, no matter if they unleash all the soldiers, all the security operatives in Nigeria are released on the street to quell a widespread riot or civil disorder or disobedience, it will be impossible for the number of security operatives, call it the military, the armed forces, the police, civil defense, and other paramilitary forces. It will be next to impossible for them to contain what could come. So the best way to handle this situation is for government to sit back, go back to the drawing board, look at these problems critically, and find smart and workable solutions to them. We cannot be doing the same thing every time and expect a different result. That has been the bane of Nigeria. We should look for creative, sustainable solutions to problems that afflict our people, and
Miss,
then get people to work.
Mr. Ibanga, let me, you covered the elections. I'm going to play a piece that you did called Rise Nigeria. We'll play that for about 3 minutes and then we'll come back and talk about what informed that. So,
All right.
Fellow Nigerians, I am not here to campaign for any politician or his votes or any political party. I have come to speak to your heart. I have come to speak to your conscience. I have come to talk about this as your own good home. But make no mistakes about it. Unlike politicians, I don't like politics. Nigerians are seeking to survive without healthy politics and patriotic politicians. Unfortunately, the just concluded primaries of political parties have generated enough passion to boil the river Niger and boil the river Benue, and even the Atlantic Ocean is feeling the blazing temperature. Many people were killed, and friendship and relationships were sacrificed, and truth and justice were thrown overboard. But politics is not supposed to be any of this. No, it's supposed to be a game of oligarchs, a platform for bitterness, violence, and intimidation and deception that characterized the primaries conducted by all political parties in the country. We must therefore, Nigerians, rise from the ashes of the disturbing primaries and the many crises confronting us as a people and a country, and embrace one another with forgiveness, love, and compassion. Fellow Nigerians, those who earnestly desire to lead the people do need to declare war, call the police names. They don't need to lie and threaten those who do not share their viewpoint. Real leaders are compassionate. They are patriotic and firm in their convictions. They tell the truth no matter which side they are, and they share their visions with clarity and utmost conviction. They don't force people to support them, and they don't buy support. They simply hate it. The 2019 elections should be about such leaders and nothing less. And so we must be prepared to resist people who continue to hate, violence, and lies all the way from politics. 2020 should be about what economy deserves. Change the course of our youth now. Build a strong economy that creates more jobs and opportunities for millions of our young people. Bind the rules. Show genuine love and compassion to people, irrespective of their religion, ethnicity, and political persuasion. 2019 should be about a better Nigeria where no one is oppressed and where the hopes and dreams and aspiration of every man and every woman, every boy and girl, the young and the old, can find concrete manifestation and expression in an atmosphere of love, peace, and harmony.
Hmm.
2019 is about you. It's about Nigeria. My name is Ibanga Isine.
Great.
Hmm.
Nice. Very, 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 very well done. Very well done video there. Uh, straight up issues. And this was 2019. Who knew
Yes,
that
just before the
2020,
election.
yeah, who knew that 2020 had to install what it did,
Yeah.
because if we did, then we wouldn't even I'm hearing some audio I shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know where
Mm.
it's coming from, but I
Mm-mm.
think they are
Mm.
not having an
I hope we're
interference
not
from
being
yes, we are not having interference from our friends.
okay, there we go.
Yes,
That is
yes, go
good.
on.
So we were saying that who knew that was 2019. You put
Yes,
together those powerful words following the elections, and who knew that 2020 would would bring to us what we have today. Between it started off trying to fight COVID-19, and then
yeah.
we're here today with all sorts of issues confronting our country. Is there a break for Nigeria?
I think they could be. I think they could be. Just what we lack is a political will. We have very, very, very intelligent Nigerians. You are people are doing great jobs out there, and you are Nigerian. So what's the difference? It's just the terrain, the environment,
Yes.
the demographic. If you come
Mhm.
back home, if you come home, you could do the same thing you are doing out there. Nigerians
Easily.
in the diaspora could do the same thing
And
if the
so many
right
people are,
environment.
yes, they're crying
Yes,
to come home.
yes, the common. I was still a reporter, a young reporter, when Obasanjo invited Nigerians in diaspora to come back and invest in their own country. And a lot of
Mhm.
people heard him and came. But what happened?
They
Their
went back.
businesses were demolished.
They
They
went back.
were they were brutally attacked and their businesses were demolished and some of them died. Some of them, lost their minds and some
Yeah.
fled the country again as if
Why?
it was
Why
not their
so?
own
Why
country.
so, Mr. Ibanga? Because they were up against the system, and that is really the
I,
fight we have in Nigeria today. It is the
I
system.
don't think it was just an issue of fighting against the system per se. It was a fact that the leaders were not sincere about what they wanted to do,
Mm,
about the invitation they extended to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to come and build a united country. You cannot invite somebody to your house or to your kindred, and then you turn around to attack him if you are normal. There's something um, absolutely abnormal about Nigeria. And
mm,
until we discover that thing, we will not be able to solve the problem of this country. The fact is
mm.
that our leaders, we need leaders who are forthright, leaders with integrity, not kind of warped and sepulchre kind of integrity. People who have been
Compromised.
trained to
Mm,
have integrity, whereas they have none. We have want leaders who believe in Nigeria as a collective, not as a northerner, not as a southerner. We want
mm.
leaders who believe in the promise of our forefathers who believe that we are a great people, who believe that we have a great destiny, and that if we pull our resources together, if we come together and walk shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, feet to feet, we can build a strong and viral country that will be, the envy of other countries. We have the resources, we have the manpower, we have almost everything. But what we lack is good leadership. The day we have the kind of leaders that think creatively, leaders who have integrity, leaders who love passionately from their heart and not from their heads, Nigeria will start making progress. But
Thank
for
you.
now, we have politicians. We
Thank you
have
for that.
politicians and not leaders.
Yeah, we have politicians and not leaders. We have Mr.
Yes,
Mike Jacobs back on, so I want to
back.
quickly
Yes.
give him a chance to talk to us about what he's been up against in terms of this same leadership issue that you talk about. Mr. Jacobs, what have you been up against in dealing as a human rights lawyer, advocate, and dealing with these issues of human rights in Nigeria? What have you been up against in terms of when it comes to the leadership of our country?
Well, it has been largely the case of selective justice, where government decides who, the people in government decide who to prosecute, who to investigate, who to bring to justice. We have had situations where people, non-Nigerians, would an attack and kill, and they are never arrested. And then when you have a situation where government decides to even become the spokesman or the spokesperson of the attackers, explaining why attacks are occurring without apprehending those who are infracting and attacking citizens, you are at a loss whether justice is really defined. Now, a situation where the government of the nation decides, for instance, even in the current issue of NSAS, that a certain group will come in and oppose those who are protesting and asking for the end of SARS. You have a group that is supposedly giving government cover to come and attack those who are protesting against SARS. Those people, none of them is arrested, none of them is prosecuted, none of them is being questioned.
Yeah, it's a clear abuse of even the judiciary, Mr. Ibanga. Yeah, it's a clear abuse of even the judiciary, because you have a judicial system in place that is not even allowed to function, as it should. And you are a journalist. You heard, yeah, you've seen. Okay, we have a it's in and out of the stream, but you've heard, you're a journalist. You've heard and seen for yourself what is happening in Nigeria. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What is happening? Wait, I
Yes,
think,
I've heard
hang on.
him.
I think we have him back.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs, I'll ask you to continue your thoughts. If you have the signal thing. I'm so sorry, viewers, but hey, it's technical things that we have to contend with, so bear with us. But I'll come back to you, Mr. Ibanga, and then come back lastly to Mr. Jacobs before we wind down. as a journalist, I've also seen some of the reports coming out of Nigeria concerning journalists in Nigeria not being safe to practice, not feeling free to practice. Some have been arrested, especially during this NSAS period. You yourself just mentioned that your phones, they're listening in on your phones, and all of that. These are the conditions that journalists are forced to live and work under in Nigeria. How, what gives you the courage or the strength to, keep going and keep reporting and keep putting those stories out there that you consider truth?
It's the love for country. It's simple. Love for country, love for humanity. Because I'm not bothered. I'm a Nigerian first before I'm an Ibibio man, an Akwa Ibom man. I'm a Nigerian. And then whether the person is from the north or from the south and goes through hardship or his right is being denied, his rights are being violated, I go in support of those people. I write those stories. If the president of Nigeria today is the right of the president of Nigeria today is violated in Nigeria by Nigerians or any Nigerian in particular, I will fight for President for President Buhari because he is also a Nigerian. But it's so sad that even those who are listening to our conversations, those who are attacking us, those who are arresting our colleagues, they know that we love this country as much as they do. It's just funny that they believe they love Nigeria better than the way those of us who are journalists, we do. We are also in the forefront, in the front line. And we are doing the same thing. They are defending the country. We are providing surveillance. We are providing information, education, and entertainment. And these are guaranteed under the laws of Nigeria. They are guaranteed under the United Nations Charter. They are guaranteed under the African Union Charter. And so nobody should stop us. Nobody should intimidate us in the course of doing our jobs. Nobody should feel more important and that his job is superior to the jobs of others. Everybody works hand in hand, and we contribute in our different ways to make a whole. It's not one single drop of water can form a river. Not one single body, no single drop or two drops of water can form a pool of water. You have to have a collective, a large, many drops to form a pool and then flow into a river. So no profession, nobody should feel more Nigerian or to love Nigeria or have the interests of Nigeria at heart than any other Nigerian. We belong to this country. We love this country. We want the best for this country. But when we know that politicians are playing politics with the unity, with the development, with the rights and privileges of Nigeria, with the lives of Nigerians, they should not expect us to keep quiet because they hold the guns and we only have the pen. It will not work. We will not keep quiet because this country belongs to us as equally as it belongs to them.
Indeed, it sure does. And I think if nothing is getting through right now, it is the fact that it is just that fact that this country, Nigeria, as it's ours. It is not for one person. It's not for any ethnic group. It's not for individuals, and it's not for governments in power to own. It belongs to every single. We all have a stake in it, and the sooner we all realize that, the better it would be for all of us as a country, that indeed our stake is in Nigeria as a country, not as individuals, as general citizens. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Mr. Mark Jacobs in Nzamah back.
The failure of Nigeria is still part of the failure of Nigeria.
Just to have a conversation on this very important issue, the killings that have been going on for years on end now in southern Kaduna, and to touch base on NSAS and and also the current situation with Nigerian youths, where the government is clamping down on so many levels, and people are actually afraid in the country and asking if they are under a democracy or a military regime. It is a sad situation indeed, and we'll continue to monitor it. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibanga Isine, for your time. I also know that you're with Premium Times as well.
No. I resigned from Premium
I
Times. I
see.
run the
Okay.
next edition,
Okay.
www.nextedition.com.ng. Next
Okay.
edition.
Next
Yeah,
edition,
edition, yes.
www.nextedition.com.ng.
Nextedition.com.ng. Yes.
Yeah, check out his works. And how can we find you on Twitter? It's
Yeah,
all.
IB Cool. IBYKUL. IB Cool.
All
And
right.
then on Facebook, you see Ibanga Isine. On Instagram, Ibanga Isine 8.
Great. Your contacts would be in on our YouTube page, so viewers can definitely reach out to you from there. And we hope that you also take a look at Mr. Mark Jacob Nzamah's works as well, specifically in southern Kaduna, and addressing some of the ills that have been going on there. The numbers are ridiculous. I mean, we sit down, we're watching coffins just passing and passing and I still remember the Benway situation. I can never get that picture out of my head. But we see it, and we see it happening, and it is time. That is why we're here talking about it, so that those in relevant offices, especially in the international community, can jump in here and weigh in on what is going on in Nigeria. Thank you again, Mr. Ibanga, and thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me. I will be most obliged. I will oblige you any day, anytime.
Wonderful. Thank you for all your
Thank
work
you.
too as a journalist. And also
Thank
to
you.
Mr. Mark Jacob Nzamah, human rights lawyer and activist, championing human rights in Nigeria, especially dealing with the Southern Kaduna killings. Hashtag all of these, and you'd find more on our comments on our page. Continue to watch us. We'll be back next time with more guests and talking about so many subjects that apply to us as a people. Stay with us. I am Oiza Adaba. See you next time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.